Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Scorpio, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of November. Happy birthday, and I hope you are well. I'm using the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot for you today. Here it is. Now, if the reading resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended at the end. That's the first link in the description box. The second link in the description box is the 6-month overview that I did for each of the signs back in July. Obviously it runs from July to December. We only have a couple of months that left now, so I've knocked the price down accordingly. If you haven't had a chance to see it, maybe now is a good time. It's about as low as it's going to go. So feel free to check that out if you want to. Do I have anything else? I don't think I have anything else. Oh, I do. So in the meditation before I started recording, I got two very clear, distinct images, and the first was a rainbow. Now, this isn't for everyone. I feel like this is very specific to a few people. I got a rainbow and I was like, that's nice. I like the rainbow. But there was a bit of a sadness that was with it. The second was a bridge. Rainbow bridge. So, if that applies to you, know that the message is for you. Right? Let's just put it like that. So, can I have 3 cards for Scorpio, please? It's the first. Thank you. We have the Wheel of Fortune and we have the Star. The Wheel of Fortune, however, is, interestingly, it's in the reverse, but there is a bridge. Right there's a lion sitting on top of the bridge. And that's Sagittarius and Aquarius energy, respectively. Now, have current energy for Scorpio, please. Ooh, and right down the side of the table, we have the 4 of Cups. And what's coming towards Scorpio for November, please? Thank you. For fuck's sake. We have the 8 of Cups. For what's coming towards you. Right, at the bottom of the deck we have the Strength card, and I have to say I am getting this sadness here. There you are underneath the Strength card, right? It's a very deliberate message for you, Scorpio. Now, the Strength card, it can deal with spiritual growth, but it can also talk about times of adversity. The way that we get to the Strength card is by and surviving difficult circumstances, difficult situations, and growing through them, remaining soft and vulnerable. You know, the real depiction of strength there is not the bear, it's the woman. And so when we see the Strength card, it can sometimes indicate that, you know, you're going through a bit of a rough period at the moment, but you have what it takes to get through it. You have what it takes to survive it and come out the other side even stronger than you were before. You know, think of the weed growing through the concrete. You know, there's a resilience there, but it's a resilience that comes from things being challenging. It's the best way to put it. And the fact that you are directly underneath there, you know, that true Scorpio card of the King of Cups. It's talking about emotional testing, emotional challenges at this time. So, let's get some clarifiers here and see what this is all about. Tell me about the Wheel of Fortune in reverse and the Star, please. We have the 2 of Cups, we have the 2 of Wands, we have the 7 of Swords. Interesting. Tell me about the 4 of Cups, please. We have the Queen of Wands. We have the Temperance card, which is shown up in the reverse. Page of Cups and the World dropped out, but I'm not going to take them because they dropped out. I'm just going to show you that they're there. We've got Aries, potentially. Well, we've got fire sign energy with the Queen of Wands, and Temperance is Sagittarius, so lots of fire there. And what's with this 8 of Cups? We have the 8 of Pentacles. We have the Page of Swords. I do feel like I'm going to be pulling a few more cards on this one. We've got the King of Swords at the bottom of the deck, Aquarius energy. We also have that Scorpio card of the 5 of Cups underneath there. That is a card that deals with bereavement and loss. You know, sometimes it can go as far as dealing with feelings of bitterness and resentment that come from being in a 5 of Cups situation. You know, we've got somebody there who's staring at 3 cups on the ground that, you know, are knocked over, and there's obviously in a state of grief and loss about what has gone, but failing to see the 2 cups that remain, that are behind them. Now that 5 of Cups energy is all encompassing. You know, it eats you up until the point where you can lift your head, step back and realize that you still have those 2 cups there. You know, it's an acknowledgement that there are losses, but there are things that remain still. And there's that Strength card again behind there. You know, whatever you're dealing with at the moment, you have the strength to come through it. Now the King of Swords, like I said, it's Aquarius energy, and it deals with well, we see it often indicating the professions, so lawyers, accountants, judges. And it could be a person, it doesn't matter if it's a man or a woman. Tarot doesn't give a shit about gender. But energetically it speaks to needing to make decisions. Being the one to step up and make the decisions. You know, for some reason authority vests in you to make these. And there's a sense of transcending this 5 of Cups, although it is deeply felt, with the energy of strength in order to make the difficult decisions that need to be made, or even communicate things that are difficult, you know, that need to be said. Yeah, so let's have a look and see what this is, because this, I'll be honest, Scorpio, like, your readings have been very been like relatively straightforward for a few months now, and the energy of this seems altogether a little messier, if you don't mind me saying. And often that is the way when we're coming to a big breakthrough. There's almost like this kind of crescendo of things just being a bit like, and then all of a sudden, like, everything drops and you're kind of like, right, I get it. And it feels like that step before, you know, the pinnacle, before the peak, before the balloon bursts, you know. So, Wheel of Fortune in the reverse and the Star. Now, the Wheel of Fortune is a card that is often given, at least on a surface interpretation, to represent the idea that the wheel is always turning, right? And sometimes you're on the up and your fortunes improve, and sometimes it's on a downward cycle. There we go, that's the word I was looking for. And it seems like everything is very, very difficult. Now, I'm interested in the fact that we've got a bear here on the Strength card, depicting strength. And on this bridge here, we have a lion, which is, you know, the standard depiction of strength. It's a Leo card, after all. Got them sitting there on the bridge, but look, there's a bear down there too. It seems like the two things are very closely linked. The fact that it's come up in the reverse makes me feel like, in some ways, you know, in a major way or a minor way, you feel like the wheel is not turning in your favour at the moment, right? But with these two animals here, oh, there's a stag there as well, a white stag, which is a creature with very spiritual overtones, hugely spiritual. Again, there's this sense of needing to transcend the events that are in front of you, no matter how negative they feel at this time. And the message of the Star there is to maintain hope, maintain connection. Now, the presence of the stag makes me feel like this is some sort of kind of big spiritual thing that's going on for you at the moment. And like I said, there's often that huge confusion before everything starts to settle. And whatever it is that's hit you, needing to maintain this sense of connection to the universe, and that's how I read this, you know, connection to something bigger than yourself, is really, really important for transcending this as it is here. Now, the clarifiers that are underneath are really quite intriguing, because we have two cards that are numbered 2, and for me they speak very much of internal situations, you know, internal contemplations. We've got the 2 of Cups and the 2 of Wands. Now, the 2 of Cups is relationships. Yes, it is not necessarily romantic relationships, and in fact I very rarely leap to that as being the, you know, interpretation here. Rather, I think when you drill down into this card, what this is talking about is intimacy, right? You've got two people coming together with you know, aligned values, you know, shared goals, that kind of thing. You can see it for business partners, you can see it for friends and close friends, you can see it for, you know, family members and stuff like that too. It's merely you and another person coming together. Now with this Two of Wands, that's a crossroads energy. Okay? You have arrived at a crossroads and there are decisions that have been needing to be made, particularly with regard to someone else. And then we've got this Seven of Swords. Now this is not comfortable energy at all, because there are two different ways of looking at this. The first is, if we take the positive view of this is about risk taking, you know, and when we put these cards together, we can see that there's a possibility of you needing to take a risk, or at least the possibility of the option of taking a risk on someone is presented to you here. And that could be a romantic situation, it could be friends and family where maybe you've fallen out and you need to risk maybe coming back together, you know, has this person changed, you know, this sort of thing. But the other meaning is deception. Now, you could be in a situation where you're trying to work out if somebody has actively deceived you. This is possible. And if they have actively deceived you, then I feel like they are in some way at least related to the ways in which the wheel seems to be on the downward turn for you at the moment. Or it could be ways in which you have deceived yourself about a particular relationship, you know, the way that you pulled the wool over your own eyes, you know, seen things that weren't there, or inputted things that weren't there, you know, you've kind of filled the gaps with your own projections, you know, the things that you wanted to see there rather than that which necessarily exists. I'm going to put another couple of cards for that because I'm intrigued. Let's see. These cards are running around, right? So tell me about this Seven of Swords, please, for Scorpio. Thank you. We have the Three of Wands in the reverse and the Ace of Pentacles. And we've got the Eight of Cups. The Three of Wands in reverse, you know, follows on from the Two of Wands. We've got the Two of Wands here on the table. So what we've got is you sitting at a crossroads going, right, well, I need to decide whether I'm going to go this way or I'm going to go that way, and kind of walking through the consequences of it in your head. See where you end up and see if that's where you want to be, right? That's generally the Two of Wands sort of thing there. The Three of Wands is then when you pick whatever that is and you start walking down that road, right? It's a very active card, speaks of active energy, guys. It's actually kind of like a low-level manifestation card too, in that way, because it's how you bring about what it is that you want to end up at, you know, into your life. But where the Three of Wands speaks of movement, we do have that ship there on the, you know, arriving at the harbour. There's a lack of movement here. Now, this could be because you have not yet decided what movement forwards you want to take yet. Maybe you're still very much stuck on the I don't know how to, you know, get to where I want to go. I'm not sure if it's the right place for me. I'm not sure if this person is right. I'm not sure if I'm, you know, overthinking this relationship in some way or another. Or it could be that there is just no movement available to you. Like the action that you want to take is, for some reason, whatever reason, not open to you at this time. But it's come up with the Ace of Pentacles, which is a new start in some way or another. And all the aces speak to that. But I see the aces, not the aces, beg your pardon, I see the pentacles as energetic currency, right? So anything that you are capable of investing, whether it's your time, your care, your effort, your money, your love, your energy, whatever it is, becomes then a pentacle. And with the ace here, it's almost like being given an opportunity to redirect your attention somewhere else, right? Invest that pentacle in something else. And maybe in this way, the Three of Wands is acting as a kind of negative modifier in so much as you would like to be able to invest your energy in a particular direction, but that is not open to you for whatever reason. It's not there. And we've got the Eight of Cups at the bottom of the deck here, which is about emotionally moving on from a situation. It's interesting because the card directly behind that is the Eight of Pentacles. And there you are with the Death card, with Scorpio behind that. So we've got double eights. The reason why it's interesting is because that's a pair of cards that appears for you here in November. Now these are shadow cards at the bottom of the deck. And there you are as Scorpio. But potentially there as in a transformative sense as well. Like what is being asked of you here is an element of transformation, right? Or element, some sort of rebirth is being signaled to you here. You know, there is something about you that needs to change at this point, and it requires work. It requires a lot of work for you to be able to put this emotionally in your head in the right place. Right? I hope that this makes sense. I've just picked up the card that was underneath the Death card because it was face down like this, and it's actually the Nine of Swords there. Now the fact that it wasn't visible to me and it looked like that, it says to me that there is a low level anxiety, or maybe it's a high key anxiety, like who knows at this point, right? But there is underlying concern and worry about something, but you're not addressing it yet. Now, when we move on to your current energy, what we've got is the Four of Cups. A card that traditionally speaks about the act of rejection or feeling rejected by somebody else, but it can also speak about, you know, a sense of abandonment, really, you know, kind of not noticing cups that are there, perhaps. But it can also talk about being taken for granted, or even taking someone else for granted. It's quite a difficult emotion. It's quite a challenging card altogether, really. But it's made almost more so by the two clarifiers that are coming out underneath, because we have this Queen of Wands. And like I said, that is strictly Aries energy. But when it appears in a reading like this, it could well be Leo, it could well be Sagittarius. You know, it's somebody with the attributes of a fire sign. And it doesn't have to be the sun sign. It could be their, you know, it could be their moon sign. It could be their rising sign. Maybe their Mars or Venus as well. But usually I tend to stick to the top three, right? Energetically speaking, if this is not a person, then what the Queen of Wands deals with is visibility, the need to be seen. Well, it's not a need to be seen, it's a requirement almost to be seen. Like fire signs don't go out of their way to dominate, you know, a situation. It just sort of happens that way because of the kind of personalities that they have. You know, they're very bold, they're very confident. But above everything else, the Queen is seen. It is necessary for the Queen to be seen. But between these two cards here, there's almost a sense that for now, in your current energy and in the situation that you are in right now, the Four of Cups is how you are feeling. And the Queen of Wands is what you are needing to portray at this time. You know, she's pushy in some ways. She's very bold. She's very assertive. She has something to say and everybody will hear it. It's not like the Queen of Cups, who quite likely would lose her voice if she was required. And that's your Queen, right? It's Cancer energy, but that's the water sign Queen. She might lose her voice if she was required to, you know, address everybody. She works very well on a one-to-one basis, but, you know, beyond that, I always get a sense that that fire that is sometimes needed to you know, stand up and address a lot of people is something that the Queen of Cups would find very intimidating, but it's very much the purview of the Queen of Wands. It seems like there's a gulf here. between what you're required to do because of the situation that you're in at the moment and how you actually feel down here. And like I said, it could be that you feel like you've been taken for granted. It could be that you know, we've had the Five of Cups appear as well. So those two cups cards go very closely together. It could be that you're feeling very abandoned and isolated and alone. You know, there's a loneliness to this that doesn't sit quite as well with this. It's almost like this is masquerading this. And then you've got the Temperance card in reverse. Right? Sagittarius energy again, but coming up in the reverse. This way around, it talks about balance, it talks about equilibrium, it talks about great healing that comes off the back of adversity. We see that crown above the mountains there, indicating that long road that has been walked from the very challenging situation, which is the mountains, you know, down to where you are now, where you can put your feet in the water and go, actually, it's okay, you know, filling your own cup. Stuff like that. It can also talk about divine timing, divine orchestration, you know, a sense of being divinely guided in some way. And for some of you, it might feel like you had been abandoned. Wherever your divine intervention, you know, that divine guidance has been, usually that is now gone in some way, like you're feeling a little bit cast adrift and a little bit like you have to be this, but you know, my Leo late husband, one of his favourite sayings was, the time that you are least sure is when you need to be most confident. And I feel like for the fire signs, that's actually something that they live by. It's a bit of a maxim for the fire signs, right? You know, you can be quivering your boots inside, but it's not what you're going to show the world. So there is potentially, between these two cards, a sense of abandonment by, you know, some higher power that you feel has been guiding you up until this point. But if we just take the sense of moderation and actual temperance from this is somebody who is not feeling moderate, somebody who is not feeling balanced at this point, not somebody who is feeling peaceful. It's not somebody who is feeling healed. And the presentation of it makes me think that for whatever reason, you need to project one kind of outward, you know, sense of self, whilst feeling very, very different inside. Again, I'm going to pull another couple of cards for this, because this feels very intense, Scorpio. I'm not going to lie, and I'm not surprised. You know, it's Scorpio season and I'm doing a Scorpio reading. Of course, it's going to be a little bit intense, but the feeling of being set back somewhat from where you have been for the last couple of months is really, really palpable. But at this point, if you can possibly manage that, I don't want you to see it that way, because it feels like the work that you've done in the last few months has actually prepared you for this point here. Now, does that make sense? Let's Temperance in reverse, please. We have the High Priestess and the Ten of Wands. We have one more card for this, please. No, it's two. What the fuck? Yeah, like Scorpio, there's something going on very, very strongly here with you. There you are again at the bottom of the deck, the King of Cups. Different deck, but you're still there. Then we've got this Major Arcana energy of Pisces here as the High Priestess, and we have the Ten of Wands, and it's coming out with Strength and the Ten of Swords here. Now, I do feel like this is validating exactly what I just said about the work that you have done has got you to a place where you are able to cope with what is going on now. Like, I don't want you to feel like it's a sense of failure, because it's not. But we've got the High Priestess and the Ten of Wands here, and it feels to me like you know something. Something that is weighing you down greatly at this point. The Ten of Wands is a card of burden. It's a card of shouldering burden. And perhaps it is that you are shouldering the burden for people around you at this time. because for whatever reason they are not capable of doing it. But there's something about the situation. I think that you take on the burden willingly. I don't think that there's any issue with that there at all. But it's the knowledge. There's something that you know, and you know it very deeply in your bones. And that is the weight. Because it feels like at this point you are not able to share that. For whatever reason, that's the burden that you are carrying, and that's the thing that feels heavy. We have strength in the Ten of Swords there. Now remember that we've seen that Nine of Swords already, right? That is the concern, the worry, you know. Now the thing with the Nine of Swords is, because of the placement of the swords, and I've spoken about this before, you know, there's generally a neutrality about the way that they are placed there. There is often this indication that what you are concerned about may not actually have a basis in reality. But when the Ten of Swords appears, it does feel like a crystallization of that which you were concerned about, that which you were anxious about, that which you were worried about. It feels like it's come to pass in some way. Now, the Tarot of the Abyss is a wonderful deck, not least, I think it's one of its really standout features, is the fact that it has two different depictions of both the Three of Swords and the Ten of Swords. And the reason that I like that is because I do feel like, for most people, they are considered to be one of the most challenging cards in the deck. So in this deck, we have the standard depiction. We have that which you would usually associate with the Ten of Swords and the Three of Swords. But we have these two alternate depictions too. And what you've got here is an alternate depiction of the Ten of Swords. Rather than a man lying, you know, down with 10 swords in his back, and actually in this deck, he's kind of reaching out for help and somebody's just walking straight by him. What we have is an owl with the 10 swords there on the feathers, looking directly into the eyes of this chap here. Now, owls are associated with some of the very ancient symbols of wisdom, right? And this man, he's managing to look this owl directly in the eye and almost manage a smile. He's not shying away from it at all. There's the wisdom in whatever this Ten of Swords situation is, right? There's something that you can see about this. You can see the point of it, you know? No, maybe seeing the point of it's a little bit too strong. There's an acceptance of it, and that's different. You can accept it without necessarily understanding why it's happened. The Ten of Swords indicates an end, it indicates completion, and that is one of the reasons why I actually quite like the Ten of Swords, because, you know, from the 7 right the way through the 10, like it's hard life lessons being learned there, really, really hard. The 10 indicates completion, it indicates it coming to an end, and we've got that strength card there again. And of all of the cards on the table, this is the one that's coming out most often for you, right? It's strength. You can cope with this. You can deal with this. It's not okay, but you will survive this and you will come out of the other side of it much, much stronger than you have gone in. But I do feel like this, like I've said, this work that you've done up until this point has prepared you for the point that you're at now. Now, when we come into November, we've got this same 2-card pairing that we had before, the Eight of Cups and the Eight of Pentacles. This is the Pagan Otherworlds. This is the standard Rider-Waite, and those 2 cards came out of this deck here, the Tarot of the Abyss, right? Which statistically is kind of unlikely. 8s are very karmic numbers, right? They speak about, you know, big karmic events in our lives that shape us in some way or another. Now, the Eight of Cups has come out first. It is the main card, and that deals with a moving away from this emotionally, from whatever this situation is, right? The received wisdom of this card is that, you know, you've decided that you've understood, rather, that the situation that you are in has nothing to give you anymore, right? Holding on to these particular emotions is not useful for you at this point. And, you know, there's usually a chap there and he's walking off under the light of the eclipse, and the cups are stacked in such a way as to make it obvious that there is a ninth cup that is missing, right? There's a big gap there, and we presume that he's going off to go and find what a 9 of cups situation is for him. But he's leaving behind these 8 cups that no longer serve him, that no longer contain anything that nourishes him, and he's leaving them behind. It's paired up with this 8 of Pentacles, like it really underlining the fact that this is going to take some work by you. It's going to take conscious work. This is not something that is going to happen on its own. It's not going to happen holistically. This requires everything that you have to process it. And let's come up with the Page of Swords, which is interesting because it's the first rung of the ladder, you know, on the court hierarchy for the swords. And I often liken it to, you know, a student, right? Maybe a student who's gone to university to study philosophy and they think they know everything when they get there, and then, you know, they start learning all of these concepts of philosophy, and by the end of the first semester they genuinely don't know if they exist anymore, right? It's that kind of like mind blown kind of situation. But it often talks about choosing to see the world a different way, and it is often a conscious choice, because it is a conscious choice. You know, a mind expanded by a new idea will never return to its original dimensions and all that. Something about what you have experienced recently has really changed the way that you see the world, but that's not the only change that's going to happen. I'm going to pull you back to that Death card as we saw it. Like, there are further transformations, there are further rebirths that are required of you, and the first and foremost thing is that you have to look at this situation differently. You know, that's not me saying that. That seems to be where this lesson is guiding you at this point, right? Because it's asking conscious work of you, conscious work with the 8 of Pentacles, conscious work with the Page of Swords, all funneling up to the ability for you to be able to leave the emotions of this situation behind and move on in some way. Certainly move on from the 8 of Cups and towards the 9. We've got the 6 of Pentacles here, bringing balance to yourself. You know, you cannot expect this situation to balance itself out on its own. Like, you need to bring that. Again, another conscious aspect here. But we have the Chariot. And the Chariot is the card of the self. But it is also a very strong card of balance. Both of those cards are talking about that there. The balance that needs to come has to come from within here, because it feels like what is around you at the moment is really quite chaotic. And it feels like there are other people involved in this. Like, you know, kind of pulled back to this sense of needing to carry a burden for other people because they are not capable of doing it at this time. Let's put this. There, we've got the Magician. Like, there's a hell of a lot of major arcana cards here for you. We've got the 7 of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. This is a situation that is, you know, less than optimal in some way. It's not right, it's not cool, but there's something about the situation that can't necessarily be changed. What has to be changed is your perspective of the situation, the way that you perceive it, the way that you view it, because that's the way that you can move forwards more strongly. The Chariot card is a card of victory, it's a card of success. It's getting all of your ducks in a row, everything aligned so that you can move forwards and achieve the goal that you're after. And it's followed with the Magician, which is, you know, the card of manifestation. The card of manifestation, right there. It's Gemini energy. This is Cancer. You know, if you want to achieve a particular outcome, a particular goal, then it's really, really important that you get yourself aligned. And, you know, the other thing that the Chariot card speaks to me of specifically is shadow work. You know, what has been pulled up in you at this time? What do you need to pay attention to in you? Because there's an opportunity for healing here. I'm not sure you're necessarily ready for it But there is an opportunity for healing here. And ultimately that's what the Eight of Cups is about. It's like knowing where to put this emotion, to put it in the right place. Like I said, Scorpio, this is almost a darker energy than I've expected, well, that I've come to expect from you for the last few months. And that's not a problem. Not a problem at all. But what I'm trying to say is, what I'm kind of dancing around the point of here is, remember where you were heading to up until this point. Remember that the darkness is comfortable and the light is not, but it's choosing to accept that light. It's choosing to go towards the light. So where there is a huge opportunity, where something is coming up for healing, try, if possibly, if you can, not to fall back into old patterns of just kind of shutting down and not paying any attention to this. Like, engage with this. But it feels like you've got an awful lot on your plate at the moment. An awful lot. So I'm going to go over to Vimeo now because I want to explore this a little more deeply. So that we can understand what's going on with you and advise accordingly. So if you'd like to join me over there, that's the first link in the description box. If not, no shade, don't worry. If you can think about, the last few months having prepared you for this experience here, keep the broader picture in view. I think that you will navigate this energy more easily than you might do otherwise. So know that I love you all very, very much, and I will see you soon.